Repeat. Yeah.
We're live.
Thank you. Good afternoon to Cabinet on Monday, the 18th of May, 2026. Welcome all to today's Cabinet meeting and all those who will watch online and subsequently on YouTube, is it? Where we post all the recordings. Item 1, apologies. Apologies we received from Councillor Deborah Davis and Councillor Estelle Quarter. Anyone else for apologies? We haven't had any others, have we?
No, we don't.
Brilliant, thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest, please. Okay, as ever, colleagues, if you notice that's something you should have declared, declare it there and then, please. Item 3, minutes from March Cabinet. Unless anyone wants to raise anything, I'd please move the confirmation of those minutes. Councillor Lacey. Councillor Depp. Thank you. Okay, agenda item 4, Cabinet approvals of allocation of reserves. There are a number of requests requiring approval, and the next regularly financial monitoring report, where this approval will be already dealt with, is not until June, which is too long. So we've done this separate report sets out requests for review and approval to be provide earlier decisions and clarity for officers on funding and progression of capital and transformation schemes. The report details several requests for the use of the transformation fund and shows the balance before the request and available balance if the request totaling of 921k are approved. The minimum level of this reserve is £2 million. There is a change of reserve request for 56k, previously approved for HR support to be repurposed for essential business process review support and the transformational for automation. The last request is to include a new capital project in the Council's capital programme for the purchase of a local property for children's services at a cost of 750k plus 3.5k associated land tax. The majority of this purchase will be grant funded, with 29k funded by Newport Stadium's capital resources. The amount of these requests are detailed in the report. I asked that this Cabinet consider and approve the use of reserves and the change of use of previously agreed reserves set out in the body of this report and the capital project to be included in the Council's capital programme. Cabinet notes Head of Finance's recommendation for further funds are transferred into the transformation reserve from any 25-26 budget underspend to enable it to support any further in-year requests for financial support. Cabinet colleagues, any questions, comments, thoughts? Councillor Lacey.
Just a couple of comments from my side. A number of these are relating to my portfolio. So specifically more with reserve point number 2 and 4 relating to the use of transformation in the adult services as well. So I think it's important that we were honest about the scale of pressure facing adult services and adult social care, not just financially but operationally, and in terms of increasing complexity and need. So continuing to do more of the same is unlikely to deliver the long-term sustainability that we need for either the council or the residents wanting these services. So the proposal is seeking to do is to commission, not just to commission another piece of work for the sake of it, but to focus on the understanding of demand properly, looking at the drivers behind increasing cost pressures and importantly asking whether there are better ways to support the independence and be able to run earlier more effectively. I think it's important to recognise that transformation work of this scale requires dedicated capacity and expertise, and services already operating under significant pressure and expecting this level of system review and redesign to happen alongside day-to-day operational demand without additional support is absolutely not realistic. So the additional funding in recommendation 4 is therefore an important part of ensuring this work is meaningful, deliverable and properly embedded over a 2-year period rather than becoming another short-term review that lacks capacity to implement plans effectively. So ultimately, I see this as an investment in developing a more sustainable adult social care model for the future, one that focuses on independence, early intervention and better long-term outcomes for the resident, while also helping the council manage significant future financial pressures and responsibilities. And then obviously relating to the capital with the children's, with regards to the capital funding for property placement, I know that there were a few things going on in a number of properties that we're looking at, and there's a little bit of uncertainty about book prices and things that our team working really hard to push through. So again, it's just another project that we front load to save money going forward, and not just save the money, but to make our service more appropriate for our end users.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Lacey. You know, it's about forward-looking, not short-termism. and about bringing children closer to our home in an appropriate setting, and being more efficient with taxpayers' money, and so it's a win-win for all those concerned, in my view. So it's a welcome report. Colleagues, any other comments? Councillor Howard.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. I just also wanted to add an endorsement again of the use of the Transformation Fund for exploring future uses of the Civic Centre, appreciating that very early days and approaching it with a very open mind, which I think is right at this stage. You know, but it's just showing that we're having a good look at what we've got and a good think about how we best use this space and other spaces across the city going forward to again maximise efficiency and cost savings for the council, which I think is really important. Absolutely,
good point to raise. Okay, can I have a approval and a seconder, please? Councillor Lacey and Councillor Clark. We'll move on to agenda item 5, which is the expression of interest for the development proposals for Newport Stadium. Newport Stadium is used for a range of sports and leisure activities. I know many of Newport will know that, from athletics to rugby, and there are multiple stakeholders with multiple ideas and aspirations for its future use. The stadium, along with the rest of the sports village site, is held on a long lease with Newport Life. We're keen to work with partners on proposals to develop and enhance the site to support the sport and leisure activities of future generations of Newport. The Cabinet report seeks approval to launch an expression of interest process to identify potential partners for the redevelopment or refurbishment of Newport Stadium, aiming to secure investment while ensuring transparency, fairness and alignment with the Council's strategic objectives for sport and community access, with no immediate financial commitment from the Council, consideration of existing lease arrangements. We believe that this is the most effective and transparent way of proceeding. Should Cabinet agree to this proposal, details of the process will be available on the Council's website from May the 20th, with a closing date of June the 30th. Conclusion of this is Cabinet are asked to agree expressions of interest for investment, redevelopment and or refurbishment, as well as future operation of the Newport Stadium site, in line with the mechanism described in this report. Delegate to the Strategic Director for Environment Sustainability and Strategic Director for Transformation and Corporate as a joint approach, supported by some statutory officers, to determine the mechanism for the seeking evaluation of expressions of interest, and thereafter to invite interested parties to submit their proposals in accordance with this mechanism. Colleagues, any comments or queries on this development? Councillor Howes and then Councillor Spencer, please.
Yes, thanks again, Leader. I just wanted to kind of reiterate, it is on page 12 of the report, but it says that it's going to, this process will be undertaken in a way that will be managed carefully to ensure fairness, transparency, compliance, but also crucially to avoid prejudice in the interests of any stakeholders or existing users of the site. So I think it's just important to underline that that's going to be foremost of the considerations. But I do agree this is the best way to do it, to approach something, you know, effectively from scratch with a completely open mind. I'm sure there'll be people in the city that have got some really good visions for this site, and I think it's important that we're open to those, and that we do spread this as wide as we can, and let people come forward with their vision. So I really support it.
Thank you, Councillor Howes. Councillor Spencer.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I think it should be known that it's important that we look at developing this site. It's been a long time since it's been put into place. I can go back a few years from when Newport Stadium were running around the track around the Cleveland, and then that was closed and this was built. So it is a few years ago, and I think it's seen its better days. So it is important that we look to develop this for the better of the future of Newport.
Colleagues, any other comments? Councillor Lacey.
Thanks. I also welcome this proposal. I think what I'm hearing a lot, and I know Councillor Spencer's been hearing this as well, is the lack of good facilities across Newport. I know Councillor Spencer and we're looking at investing in that. I think what is encouraging about this is it's not a predetermined outcome on this, and as Councillor Howell said, you know, transparency. This is we're open to anything on this, and I think it's good to see that, you know, it would be good to see strong emphasis on sort of community access, junior facilities, especially winter training, because that's what we're getting a lot of at the moment, is especially in Newport East, a lot of our training sites in schools and community centres are being booked up really quickly. And anecdotally, I've heard this week, not just by teams from Newport either, teams from Cardiff are using our 3G schools, sites in our schools, and it's sort of outbidding our local schools. So to have an expression of interest for one going on, you know, one of our major stadiums is exciting. As I said, without that predetermination of what it can possibly be, so it opens up for our teams to come in. And I think just it's given our community a voice really where that importance lies. So yeah, all for this.
Absolutely. The other thing is, I haven't met a stakeholder or someone who cares about the stadium that believe it's fine as is. I haven't seen anyone who says that. I think everyone agrees that something needs to be done. We need to do more with that asset. So I think let's move on the basis of agreement that the status quo, we shouldn't settle for the status quo, and that we should be ambitious for that site, where I think everyone agrees with that sentiment. Okay, can I have an approval in a second? Councillor Spencer, Councillor Forsey. Agenda item 6, an approval to execute an indemnity deed between Newport City Council and Hedyn Limited. This report seeks Cabinet approval to confirm the Council has no objection to Hedyn, previously Newport City Homes, with withdrawing LGPS provision from its remaining LGPS members, and 2, approve execution of indemnity deed between the Council and Hedyn Limited. The issue arises from legacy pension arrangements linked to the 2009 housing stock transfer from the Council to Newport City Homes, where a group of former Council staff retains their LGPS membership following NCH's amalgamation in 2025 to form Hedyn. Some staff will remain in LGPS. Hedyn does not offer LGPS to new staff and is now seeking to withdraw LGPS provision for those staff who remain members. Hedyn has assured the Council that affected staff have been consulted and agreed to the change. While the Council is not responsible for Hedyn's future employment decisions, the LGPS framework means liabilities associated with past service can crystallise long after active membership ends, creating potential risk that the Council could be exposed to claims or financial detriment linked to historic arrangements. The proposed solution is a legally binding indemnity deed so that Hedyn indemnifies the Council against specified liabilities connected to these historic arrangements, ensuring financial risks rest with Hedyn and not the Council. Financially, the report states there are no income or expenditure implications associated with the proposal and no liability is crystallised to date. The indemnity is a precaution to protect the Council from potential future liabilities. Key risks identified include potential exposure to legacy LGPS liabilities, future dispute if withdrawal arrangements are inadequately documented, and reputational risk if pension arrangements are perceived as unfair. Mitigations focus on executing the indemnity deed, ensuring the clarity and completeness of agreement and transparent Cabinet decision making with assurances on staff consultation. The report notes the indemnity has been negotiated between the Council and Hedyn and is approved by Hedyn's board and requires the Cabinet approval before it can be formally completed. The Chief Financial Officer comments that this is a complex area and a sensible, necessary arrangement to protect the Council's interest if issues are raised by an employee. The Monitoring Officer comments that the proposal is lawful within powers, procedure appropriate for Cabinet, and raises no constitutional concerns. The Head of People Policy Transformation comments that the proposal aligns with corporate priorities and supports the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act 2015 ways of working, emphasising long-term prudence and collaboration with a key partner. I therefore ask the Cabinet to confirm that the Council has no objections to Hedyn withdrawing LGPS provision from those staff who remain members of the scheme, and approve the execution of an indemnity deed between Newport City Council and Hedyn in a form to be determined by the Head of Law, standards in consultation with the Head of Finance. Colleagues, any comments or queries? Councillor Howells.
Thanks, Leader. I think, as the report says, as long as it says, staff have been consulted and have agreed to the change, I think that's the key, isn't it? And the report says that they have been. So I think that would be probably the only point of contention. But as long as they have been and they are, then I think I would be comfortable to agree to it, and probably everyone else feels the same. So yeah, happy with the indemnity fund.
Yeah, absolutely. Staff, protecting those staff and making sure and seeking those reassurances that staff have been engaged and consulted properly it was a critical point for us in any way, shape or form in agreeing this. But it's a good point to highlight. Any other colleagues? No, can I have approval in a second then, please? Councillor Howes and Councillor Dan. Agenda item 7, work programme. Can I please move acceptance of this programme? Councillor Mason, Councillor Forsey. Colleagues, thank you very much. I think that's a record for Cabinet, 15 minutes. Have a lovely afternoon and a lovely evening.